Hello, everybody. What's going on? My name's Garrett Sims. It is Tuesday, January 5th. Welcome back to the podcast. Um, we got so much to talk about today. Um, yesterday, I was told that my lighting was terrible, and I felt like I needed some more, maybe decorations. So I hung up some jerseys. It probably looks terrible, but I got my Tyrann Mathieu, Gardner Minshew, and then I got a jersey right there that you can't see, but it's my old baseball jersey. We fixed the lighting issue that was pointed out to me. I think it looks a little bit better. I think definitely if I was like some type of film major or camera recorder type person, I'd get yelled at because this probably looks terrible. But no, it's good to have you guys join in today. Got lots to talk about. I'm going to start off with we're going to take things a different way, and we're going to start off with a new segment, and it's called Message of the Day. And the idea behind this is that I'm going to tell you something with you, something that you can take motivationally, something that you can take with you that you can apply to life in such a way that can inspire you. And that's what I really want to do. That's the reason that I chose to do this. And so here we go, message of the day. And it's going to start off with, it's New Year's. And, the saying is new year, new me. And with that, there's a lot of New Year's resolutions that go into that. Obviously, I want to eat better. I want to quit bad habits. For some people, that's smoking. For some people, that's biting their fingernails. For some people, that's not saying any cuss words or along those lines. But one of the most common that I think a lot of people see is I want to get in better shape. And it's the biggest one of all time. And how do you get in better shape? What are the steps that you have to take to reach that goal? The goal so desperately that you want to reach. For some people, it's starting to go to the gym. It's the local gym. It's a Planet Fitness. Maybe it's buying a Peloton and putting it in your living room. Maybe it's buying or investing in a weight bench. Nowadays, they're coming out with mirrors that tell you how to work out. By God, we have mirrors that are going to tell me how to work out, that adjust to the weight I'm doing. That's insane. That is already insane. But, whichever way you look at it, there's some way that you can invest in yourself to do so. So I go to my local gym. When I'm not at school, I work out a lot when I'm at school. When I was in high school, I had weights. And even when I had weights, I do something outside of that that involved me going to my local gym. When I'm at college, I go to that. So I'm going to the gym last night. I stopped by the local gas station. I get my Bang. When I don't have pre-workout, I drink a Bang. It's very unhealthy. Bang's more reliant on caffeine, and then I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. And somehow we make a quick turnaround and wake back up at 7. I don't get that. But I'm going to the gym, and I already don't want to be there. I'm sore from the day before. I'd worked out 2 hours. I did arms and legs, and then I decided to do a conditioning workout, which was stupid on my part. I mean, I would never do that again. But I'm going to the gym. I'm already not feeling good, and I'm turning down the street, and all of a sudden I see the parking lot is packed. And with New Year's, I kind of expected that. I kind of expected, there might be 5, 6 new people I've never seen before. Kind of as everybody would suspect. And I'm pulling in, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be here. I'm looking at all the cars. I'm trying to see if there's anybody I know, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, no, this is probably a bunch of people that I've never seen before in my life, jam-packed into a gym. So I'm finishing the rest of my Bang, and I look in my rearview mirror. I'm sitting in my truck. I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and I'm like, you know what? I have to do this. I am not going to get anything out of just going home and sitting on the couch and watching football or baseball or basketball or whatever's on. So I walk in, and I'm looking around, and think of every gym stereotype you've ever seen, ever heard of. Anybody and everybody was in that gym. There was the couples working out. There was the moms doing yoga because it was yoga night. It was yoga night, okay? I just like to put that one on the record books. There's the people focusing on legs. There was the people that just work on arms. There was boxers, there was about everything you could possibly think of, and I'm walking around because there's like a little lab on the outside, and I'm just trying to think, what am I going to do? It was arm day, and the benches were full, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, man, I am trying to think of how I want to do this. And the point of this story is not to listen to me and how my workout adventure went, but as I'm working out, I'm looking around the room, and there's just so much diversity of people. Everybody's doing something different. Somebody's on the treadmill, somebody's doing the machine, somebody's lifting a bar, it's always something different. And I got done with my workout. I did about an hour and 20 minutes worth of workout in about, I think, 45 minutes. And I felt pretty good. And, I left the gym with this idea in my head. Half those people in that gym will not be there in a month. That's a guaranteed promise. I could walk in there. It would be February 4th at 6 o'clock, and half those people would not be there. Why are those people not there? Well, what makes them say, I'm done. I'm done working out. I'm done with this. I'm happy. I'm okay with where I'm at. It's this thing called complacency. And it's being okay with your situation. And the whole idea of New Year's is to make 2021, 2020, whatever year it is, your year, to dominate that year. And you're working out. You get through 1 week and you're feeling sore. And then the next week you work out and you're feeling better. And you're down 10 pounds. You're feeling good. You're eating right. You're feeling in the best shape you have been in probably 5 years. And you're okay with that. You're like, I'm really happy with where I'm at. So you quit. You're like, I don't need the gym membership anymore. I don't need this. I don't need to spend $35 a month. But see, you're okay, so you give up. And there always looms in the air that what if scenario. What if I had just went one more week of working out? What if I had just worked a little bit harder? What happens if the next time I stepped into that gym, I fell in love with the grind? I embraced it. I felt it. What happens if you gave up because you were complacent? Because you were okay? And, the goal of anything you do is to do it the best of your ability. When somebody truly wants to do something, when they set their mind and they devote every ounce of energy in their body to do it, they'll do it. And, that's where I'm coming at with this podcast, why I'm doing this, because I sat and I looked in the mirror and I said, listen, I want to do something that matters. I want people to be inspired by what I say. I want them to be moved. I want people to know me. I want to be a reason that somebody wakes up in the morning and goes to the gym. I want to be the reason that somebody wakes up and pushes that extra ounce to make more money so they can go afford something that they really want. And that's really where I looked in the mirror and I said, I'm just not happy with what I'm doing. I'm not happy. I'm watching guys on Fox Sports 1 on ESPN all the time, and I'm like, man, you know what I would give to be in their shoes, to do what they do, to make money talking about things that I talk about on a daily basis? And when I sat down and I talked to it, I felt and I thought, what if? If I had never done this, and I'm on my second episode, and you guys are like, oh, I could be burned out in a month. I could be burned out in a month. I could be burned out in a week. I could be burned out in 2 weeks. But there will always be that what if factor with it. What if I didn't do this? What if I didn't invest in myself? Because you always do. You want to invest in yourself. You want to be the best you can be, and you want to live the best life you can, because you only get one. You get one chance to do what you want to do and be the best that you can doing it. And that story right there, you know, I could sit on the couch and be complacent with watching Colin Cowherd every day, Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith. I could be okay with that. I could live every day of my life saying I am okay with that. But there's something in me, there's something that tells me go get it. Embrace it. It's going to be hard. Not everybody is going to fall in love with you within the first week. It might take a month, it might take years before everybody knows your name. And they may never. But as long as you're happy doing it and you know at the end of the day you're pushing yourself to reach the goal that you want to, as long as I come on here every day and I know I'm giving it my best effort, I'm giving it the research that I need to devote myself to this, I'll be happy. I was always told, and I may mess up this quote a little bit, and it's a quote that means a lot to me because it was told by my football coaches, and they were a big impact on my life. We may never reach perfection, but we can strive for excellence. Knowing that and what that means is when we want to go for perfection, we want to be perfect. We want to do everything that we can, and we want it to happen now. And you put in the effort every day, you grind every day, you do everything you're supposed to do, and say you don't get where you want to be, but you push yourself every day to do it, then you always fall back on that excellence. You always fall back on the idea that you gave it everything you had because you weren't complacent. You weren't okay. You wanted to reach out that extra mile and you wanted to do what you wanted to do. And that's where I come with this. This is where I want to finish that up. That's my message of the day. There's a lot more I could have said. And I hope that, maybe a month down the line, somebody looks back at this. And if I could change one person to go out there and do more, I would say that's a pretty accomplished goal. I would say I succeeded in that part by just changing one person on how they look at things. If they want to go do something, they do it. Don't be complacent. Complacency is a very bad thing, and that's where a lot of, I think, the problems with today's society lay. We're okay with where we're at. Be better. Don't be complacent, and embrace the grind. I'm going to start with some breaking news with sports. And this actually just came out, I think, about maybe 10, 20 minutes ago. The Browns head coach, Kevin Stefanski, has tested positive for COVID-19. As far as I'm concerned, he is at least out 2 weeks. He would have to test negative twice, I think, before their game. I can't remember if there's a Saturday or Sunday, but he would have to test negative twice. And there's going to be a good chance that he doesn't. There's going to be a very good chance that he doesn't. Now, who's going to fill into those shoes? Because who's going to be the play caller? Who's going to take that over? Because Kevin Stefanski is a very offensive-minded head coach. He has helped Baker Mayfield out, and he is a big reason for the Browns' success. It depends on who they put in those shoes. It depends on who is calling the plays. This changed my mind on the Steelers game. Steelers-Browns. I think if he is out, I think this game is one-sided by the Steelers. The Browns' defense is not good enough to overcome losing their head coach. And yet there's another question to ask with this. How many players are going to be out due to high-risk close contact? And that's a question that I think there's a good chance, because this isn't the regular season anymore. They, in the regular season, they could postpone it a couple of weeks and say, we'll play it later. They're not going to push back a wild card game a week. That ain't going to happen. And we've seen the way the NFL's punished some teams, and it seems that the Steelers have always been at the short end of the stick when it came to teams getting help from the NFL. It always seemed like the Steelers were kind of hurt by that, but I think this time I think there's a good chance that this game doesn't get played and the Steelers move on. But that's interesting. Keep that in mind. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, he tested positive for COVID-19. That changes my mind. I'm definitely taking the Steelers. Even if this game's played and he's not the head coach, I'm taking the Steelers. Every time I'm taking the Steelers. So, we're gonna move on here to a team that missed the playoffs. They were 10-6. They lost to the Bills, and now they're on the outside looking in. And that is the Miami Dolphins. Now, there's no question in my mind that they have the right guy head coach. Brian Flores has been amazing. He has definitely turned them around. They shouldn't have even been competitive this year, and they were. They beat a lot of teams that weren't very good, and they gave a lot of good teams a run for their money. But do they have the right player at the quarterback position? It's been Tua time since they drafted him, and everybody was kind of waiting. I don't think they should have started Tua this year. I just think with no OTAs, no training camps, no getting to know the wide receivers, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick should have played the entire season. I don't think Tua even starting should have been an idea. And there's going to be a lot of talks that is Tua the right guy? Is he the right quarterback? And I think it's a little too soon to say that. I'm not going to jump on any bandwagons. I think he needs at least another year with OTAs, with a training camp, with his head coach, with his offensive coordinator, with his offensive weapons to get things right. It's going to be too quick to jump anything there. But, they definitely made strides this year. They went from having the 5th overall pick and being one of the worst teams. It was the tank for Tua. Well, Tua fell right in their laps. And now they're probably going to be one of the better teams in the AFC for at least the next couple of years. Now, Tua had a teammate at Alabama. His name was Jalen Hurts. Jalen was a starter. Then Tua wins the job. Tua wins a championship. Then the next year, Jalen has to jump in, save Alabama. Then Jalen transfers to Oklahoma. Then the draft comes along, and one's drafted to Miami and the other's drafted to Philadelphia. In a year where I never thought I'd say that Jalen Hurts would start because I thought it was the Wentz wagon, Hurts did get to start. And I think we've seen a little bit of his brilliance. We've got to see Tua play. And I want you to think on this. If I'm starting a franchise today, who am I taking? It's just these two choices. So no, you can't say Aaron Rodgers. No, you can't say Aaron Rodgers. You can't say Patrick Mahomes. It's Tua and Jalen Hurts. And I'll give you my answer. I'm taking Jalen Hurts. And I think this is very much going to be kind of the story with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Tua has always been the guy that's been talked about. Tua has always been, Tua. And Jalen Hurts was always kind of second to Tua. But the reason I take Jalen isn't because I'm knocking on Tua, but because Jalen has more talent, and I think we've seen that. An Eagles team that is, it is just in shambles. I mean, it is. The head coach should be fired, but isn't. They got a quarterback situation that I don't think can be fixed. They got a bunch of high schoolers playing wide receiver. Their O-line's banged up, and their defense is held together with some duct tape. But for some reason, Jalen Hurts brought a spark that carried the Eagles to win a couple of games, even defeating the number 1 Saints at the time. I just think there's a lot of raw talent. I think he reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson. A lot of the things that Russ can do, Jalen can do as well. Very great legs, can run, make plays. He's got a strong arm. Now the accuracy is a little bit off. I think we've seen that if you watch the monstrosity that was the Washington football team versus the Eagles, there was almost kind of a crosser route that Jalen Reagor ran, and people were saying, "Oh, Jalen or Reagor should have caught it." But in reality, Jalen could have threw a little bit better ball. He threw it behind him, let the defenders catch up instead of leading it. I think he does have some accuracy problems. Very great arm talent, very good legs. Two is more your field general. I've always liked a more mobile quarterback, somebody that can use their legs. Even to me, Ryan Tannehill is a mobile quarterback. He can make plays with his legs. I'm not a big fan of standing in the pocket like Big Ben and just, I'm just going to rely on getting the ball out quick. I like a guy that can move around. And, Big Ben's kind of a mountain. Doesn't really move, just kind of flings the ball around. So, I think if you're starting out with a quarterback, I think it's definitely Jalen Hurts. And I think if Jalen continues to start for the Eagles and they can fix some of their dysfunction, I think Jalen will be very good. But there's a lot to fix right now, and that I'd almost hate to say it, but I don't think Hurts can overcome that Eagles team. These guys were former Alabama players, and Alabama's looking at making a new coaching move. Their offensive coordinator's leaving. He's going to go take a job. I think it's Texas's head coaching job. He's going to go take that. So it leaves an opening on Nick Saban's staff. Now it's very interesting because the two guys I'm about to name, you wouldn't even think they're going to Alabama. They're going to be an offensive coordinator. Yeah. They're looking at Adam Gase and Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien was the former not only GM but head coach of the Texans, traded away DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals for basically a trash can and a couple of bucks. And we all know Adam Gase. How can anybody forget about those eyes? But no, they're both being considered to be the offensive coordinator. And see, there's a good reason behind it because they've both been head coaches at the NFL level. Nick Saban was an NFL head coach. So if you've been hiding under a rock, you wouldn't know that Nick Saban was a head coach of the Miami Dolphins and left after 1 year. I think it was 1 year or so. But there's a reason they're looking at people like Adam Gase and Bill O'Brien. Because they understand how difficult it is to be a head coach. And they're very good offensive-minded coaches. They're not bad. But it's always been kind of one of those things with NFL coaches. Some are better coordinators, and some are good head coaches. And Gase and Bill O'Brien just weren't good head coaches. It's plain and simple as that. Bill O'Brien won a couple division titles because he played in the AFC South. The only reason the Titans are relevant, and I'll say this once and I'll continue saying it, is because of Derrick Henry. If they don't have Derrick Henry, I'm sorry, they're not good. But, with Adam Gase, Bill O'Brien, they understand what it's like to be head coach. They're very good offensive-minded coaches. I think they will help Alabama. Nick Saban can then just focus on his defense and, because the defense is Saban's toy. Gase and Bill O'Brien can kind of just tinker with the offense. It's their offense. Do what you want. I'm still the head coach. Report to me. But there's that. It's going to be interesting to see who they hired. Adam Gase gets fired from the Jets, the worst team in the NFL, and goes wins a Natty with Alabama the next year. The Broncos had some news yesterday. John Elway will no longer be their GM. He stepped down, and he's just going to be the president of operations. No surprise there. Elway hasn't drafted a player worth anything. He really hasn't. He's tried to get the quarterback position right and seems that he has just swung and missed every time because Drew Lock ain't it. And if I were them, I'd be in the running for a Carson Wentz or maybe draft a quarterback. Maybe stick with Drew Lock one more year, but Elway has just swung and missed on a lot of his picks, especially at wide receiver. I think he's got some right, but I just don't think Jerry Jeudy, and it could be because of Drew Lock, but I just don't think Jerry Jeudy is what everybody thought he was. And that could be on Drew Lock too. I'm not a big fan of Drew Lock. I just think he was always a little bit overrated coming into the season. Everybody thought he was the second coming of Jesus. So with Elway moving back to the president, that means that Vic Fangio will take over the role like Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien. He will now act as the GM and coach, but it's kind of like a partnership at GM because obviously Elway is still going to be, what are you thinking about? It's going to be one of those deals. But it's interesting because we've seen this a couple times now, and it doesn't really work out. Being a GM and a coach, it doesn't really work out. Maybe he could be different. Fangio could be different. But we've seen Bill Belichick do it. And how many Pro Bowl wide receivers has Bill Belichick drafted? Well, he's drafted one wide receiver that's been a Pro Bowler. Dude's name's Rob Gronkowski. And I don't even think we have to talk about Bill O'Brien. The dude got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I seriously don't think that this move has never worked out. They might hire one, they might not, but right now Fangio will act as the GM and coach for at least 1 year. And I love Fangio as a coach, but if he messes this GM thing up, he could be out as the coach and the GM. We're going to stay in the AFC West, and no, we're not talking about the Chiefs. Josh Jacobs, star Raiders running back, was arrested on a DUI charge after a car crash. I don't know a lot about this. I just know he was arrested on a DUI, and it was a car crash, which the Raiders had a disappointing season. I'm gonna find a way to talk about each team, whatever headline I have. And the Raiders have been a disappointment. They started out very strong. They beat the Chiefs in Week 5. I still don't. There was like, we beat the Chiefs, so we're going to the Super Bowl. Well, John Gruden, Oakland. Well, I call them Oakland, but they're Las Vegas now. John Gruden, you actually have to play a second half of the season. And not only do you have to play the second half of the season, you have to win. You know how many teams would make the playoffs based on their first half? A lot of teams. I think that's the Raiders' kryptonite. They can come out strong. The Raiders can come out strong, but then they realize they have to play a whole another half of football. And then they start to fall off hill. Then you start to see Derek Carr Derek Carr looks amazing, MVP. And then you see him slowly deteriorate into the quarterback he really is. There's a guy that hasn't deteriorated, it seems like, quarterback. And, I was surprised. When Tom Brady signed with the Buccaneers, I thought he'd be good. I thought he'd be good enough to take him to the playoffs. But what he has done at the age of 43 is just entirely impressive. He has thrown 43 touchdowns at the age of 43. Now, yes, he does have double-digit picks, but I think when you throw 40 touchdowns, he threw more touchdowns than Mahomes. Granted, Mahomes didn't play a Week 16. And we start to look at the legacy of Tom Brady. Because at the beginning of the season, the headline was, who's going to win the divorce? Is it Brady or is it Belichick? And, I always kind of said, and I think I said this yesterday, I'm not sure. I will always pick coaching over the player. Basketball, it's a little bit different. Baseball, it's a little bit different. But in football, there's one thing you cannot argue with, and it is I will pick the coach over the player. Oh, you have some lip, you want to do some, you want to post on social media and you want to do things, you want to get a DUI. Guess what? We'll just cut you. I'm a good enough coach. I can find some running back off the street and make him good. But this year, Tom Brady, I think he shocked me his entire career because of what he's been able to do. Obviously, playing at 43 and throwing 43 touchdowns has been amazing. But then winning the divorce, because in 1 year, you're going to look back at this. In 1 year, we're all sports fans going to look back and we're going to say, Brady has won. And, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, it's a little bit different story. Belichick's obviously going to be around a lot longer, but if Brady makes the playoffs twice, I think we all say he won that. But it's just remarkable to look at his stat line, and I can't remember where he finished in yards, but I think he threw over 4,000. 40-plus touchdowns, 4,000 yards. I think he had, I want to say 12 interceptions, so I think he was 43-12 at the age of 43. Hasn't lost any speed on the ball. Throws it commandingly, still can throw deep. It's just remarkable. And a lot of people hate Tom Brady, but he just keeps defying at this, and I think it's really impressive. Urban Meyer wants $12+ million to become the Jags head coach. Now, it's Urban Meyer's job to lose. The Jaguars have openly said, hey, man, we want you to be the head coach. We'll pay you what you want. It's your job. At any time, Urban Meyer could be like, yeah, I want it. And it's a really great job opening because not only do you have the number 1 overall pick, you can pick the quarterback you want. Urban Meyer could say, oh, I like Trevor Lawrence. I tried to get him at Ohio State. Now I can get him with the Jags, and he has no say in it. Other than, I want to go back to college for a year. That ain't going to happen. It's a really great job opening. I think they got a lot of great young players. DJ Chark. I think they got Miles Jack. I'm forgetting the other one. They got a really good end. Drawing blanks right now, but they got a really good end to go with Miles Jack. I want to say it's the other Josh Allen, but I could be totally wrong on that. But, it's just they got young corners, young wide receivers, got a chance to draft the right guy quarterback. So it's obviously Urban Meyer's job. He reportedly wants $12 million. I think the Jaguars will be stupid enough to give him $12 million. But there's a negative. It's like looking at a girl. And, I might get a lot of hate for this, but it's like let's switch it. It's like looking at a car. You see a brand new 2020 C8 Corvette, and it looks beautiful. It drives nice. Everything's nice on it. Then you go to look under the hood. It ain't happening. Somebody stripped your engine and put some type of, 6-cylinder, 200 horse. I'm not a car guy, but you get the point I'm trying to make. This job looks great all the way across the board, but there's one negative yesterday. The Jags owner wants final say in everything that happens. Wants final say in Urban Meyer's personnel, wants final say in who we draft, final say on who we sign. Which most people, he's the owner. Doesn't he have the right to say that? Doesn't he have a right to have a say in, what happens in his franchise? Look at the Cowboys. That's what happens when your owner wants final say. So I think that automatically makes the job a lot uglier. I think you go from being best job to now there's better ones. I think I'd rather take Houston. I'd rather take Detroit. I don't want some guy that doesn't know football being like, oh, Colin Kaepernick's on the free agent market? I want him. No, that's just when you don't know football and you try to meddle in things like Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, you end up with a team like the Cowboys. They still don't have it right. One last big football story is when Baker Mayfield first came into the league, people doubted him. There was a big doubter, and I look up to this guy tremendously. He's a big reason why I chose to do what I do. Colin Cowherd brought him on the show. He said, Baker, I'm not a really big fan of you. And they talked it out, and Baker's like, I'm going to prove you wrong. You know, and Colin's famous words were, Baker, you're more of a Mazda and not a Maserati. Well, this has become a big deal because Baker Mayfield's last play before clinching his spot in the playoffs for the first time in 18 years, the play was called Maserati. And it was a shot directly taken toward Colin Cowherd. And listen, that's the Baker Mayfield that I loved coming out of college. I loved the planting the flag in the middle. The guy, anything negative that the other team threw at him, and he took it personally. He played with a chip on his shoulder, and that's what I want to see come back. And, we've seen it this year. He is being the Baker that I think we wanted to see. His rookie year, we've seen tremendous growth for a rookie. Then he plateaued a lot. He plateaued and then dropped and then wishy-washy. So that he comes into this year, this is his third year, and he's like, I'm going to finally fix things. And now we're seeing the growth, and he's starting to grow into more of the quarterback we thought we would get at Oklahoma. And they may lose in the first round, definitely due to their head coach being out. But I think now we can say this is a start for Baker Mayfield. And like I said earlier, complacency is one heck of a thing. And if Baker's complacent where he's at, he's going to start to go downhill again. His career will be inconsistent. And he'll be, is he the franchise guy or is he not? Because that's going to be a question they're going to have to decide here for the Cleveland Browns. I think it's already made up because they made the playoffs. They proved, we can make it to the playoffs with Baker. The question is, can you win a Super Bowl with Baker? And I do want to see Baker Mayfield succeed. He is one of my favorite quarterbacks. I love his personality, and I love the chip on his shoulder. About Baker Mayfield, and this is just a fun fact about Colin Cowherd, when he first made his Instagram, and this is just like my little fun fact of the day, he said he would only follow Baker Mayfield. Like his entire Instagram account, he would have over 20,000 followers, maybe even 100, maybe even 1 million. I got on it yesterday when I heard about the Baker Mayfield story, and I looked, and he's actually following 5 guys now. So I was kind of like, I don't know when all that happened, but it's really funny. I just thought it was hilarious. Like he was devoted to just getting at Baker. And now it just kind of like he said yesterday, and I don't want to talk about it too much, but he's a great inspiration to me. He's like, I'm going to start supporting Baker Mayfield now, and that's just hilarious. That's my fun fact, the whole Colin and Baker drama. Another little tidbit, the NCAA tournament is going to be held at Indiana. The entire thing's going to be at Indiana. It's not going to be all over like it was. It's just going to be at one place. And I think they said most games are going to take place at Indianapolis. So that's some news. I can't really think of anything else. So I'm going to throw the food for thought at you guys. We talked about so much today, and, I opened up with something that I think meant a lot more than sports itself. And, I want to continue with that. I already have some ideas. I go through and I do my research, and, I go through everything that I want to say. But I seriously think that that's something that I think in a couple if there was anything that I wanted anybody to take away, it's that you could listen for those 10 minutes and say, you know what, I'm done. That's the only interesting part. I don't have to listen to anything else, and I'd be perfectly okay with that. I want to thank you guys for listening. Um, I still don't have a name for this. If you guys look at the channel art and stuff like that, I came up with that last night. I do everything by myself or anything like that. But if anybody ever comes up with a name, let me know. If there's anything that I missed, anything that you want to talk about throughout the show, I say show, but it's more of a podcast. Be interactive. Put down a comment. That's what I want to do. But as for that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy it. It's a beautiful day, so enjoy it. Be safe, and I will see you guys tomorrow.